want to tell you a story that I think is important for you to understand why productivity hacks don't work. As a professor, as a PhD, I've seen a lot of people come into the profession. And for those of you who don't know, doing a PhD in a business school is extremely competitive. It's very hard to get in. And it is also, you're part of a very competent community. There is a lot of people that have a lot of potential. They're all the best in their fields across many different fields. They're not only intellectually smart, but they're very interesting in who they actually are. Often they are the best of the best. And when you get these groups of people together, what you'll notice is that as they get together and they're competing against each other, a lot of people don't feel good about themselves. A lot of people feel like they are not good enough, they're not being productive enough, and they are grappling at things. In fact, mental health and dealing with mental health issues is probably the biggest concern that I see and that I feel, even with myself. I deal with this all the time. I was an engineer, turned into going into a business professor and went through that whole route, and I thought I was going to be something special. But as I went through it, what I realized, most of what I actually do is dealing with myself, feeling that I'm not good enough, feeling that I wish I was more productive, feeling that everybody else is better than me. And I'm going to tell you why productivity measures and productivity hacks actually don't work. Those things that there are the sort of basic stories that you hear in terms of productivity hacks. There's the ones that tell you to get up early, get up at 4 a.m., and then you're going to work really hard and you're going to be really productive every single day. And then there's the other ones that allow you to focus you to stay organized, clean out the Tupperware container in your closet. And neither of those work. None of those strategies of making you be more superhuman actually work. What you'll do is you'll do that for about 2 days, and then after those 2 days, you'll quit and you'll say, I can't do this. And then there's also a group about thinking of what's your habits that you have to do, and just have a habit that sticks, right? Like a simple habit that sticks. You'll do it for a day, or you'll read the book. If you read the book and nobody reads the book, then you'll do it, and then you'll never do it again. You'll do that one thing, you'll try it once, and then you'll think, oh man, this didn't work for me. And then you feel sorry for yourself, and then you go down this spiral. And that's where I'm going to start here, is that the key thing with productivity is not to focus on productivity. That's not the problem. The problem is to ask, why are you thinking about productivity? What is actually driving you inside? What is that feeling inside that is making you go that way? And it's not the environment. That's not what I'm going to say, because often the environment is there to help you. What I'm actually going to say and encourage you to think about is, why are you feeling that response at this moment? And it's something that I deal with every day. For me, I was a lonely teenage kid, and that stuck with me. My grade 9 and 10 years were very lonely for me, and I thought the way that I transform myself, the way that I get better, is that I become more productive and more superhuman. And because of I can become more superhuman, then everybody's gonna like me. And this logic is flawed, because the logic actually depends on me liking myself. And I need to work on that every day, where it's not about other people. I'm never going to get that validation from other people. They're never going to sort of see the value in me from the outside. Why should they? They're focused on themselves. Instead, what I need to do and focus on is, how can I feel better about myself inside? If I feel better about myself inside and I work on that, then every day I can get up and I can think that what I did today was good enough. And even if I did 10% of what I was expecting, that's good enough. And I want you to sort of really deeply think about that. What is driving you in terms of who you are? You might sort of know what the answer is, and it's going to be hard for you to talk about, but the more that you talk about it, the more that you get it off your chest and get it out, the easier it becomes. But then the other thing is that you need to work on this every day. For me, this is not going away. This is not something that I can fix in any given moment. Maybe I can take some drugs or something and change this, but I'm not willing to go there. So for me, what do I have to do? I have to accept who I am and have that real raw acceptance of who you actually are and where your limitations are, and just love that person for who that is, and go in my mind to that moment and all those moments where I felt lonely or disregarded or I didn't quite fit in, and tell that kid, you are doing completely fine right now, and you actually do a lot of good things. Just imagine in your mind, I have to imagine in my mind every day, telling that little kid that's deep down inside right here, how I can, how that person was actually doing the best that they could, given with what they actually had at that time. And that is perfectly fine. And for you have to find out that thing and get to it, and really get to it, and really work at it. And it's a hard thing to do for all of us. It's embarrassing. Nobody wants to openly talk about all of their flaws. In fact, it's curious. When you talk to people, nobody ever talk about all their flaws. Nobody does. But they're the things that drive us. And if you get to that moment where you're like, I'm okay inside with who I am, all these things that you are scared of, public speaking, for example, that terrified me because I was afraid of what other people were going to say and think about me. It's not quite as scary anymore. It's still scary, but it's not quite as scary anymore. A lot of things that were driven by this fear of what other people are going to think and say and do about me, they're not as scary anymore. So I can get up and do those things. Now, for me, my productivity thing, that's how I was getting my validation, was working harder. So as I work on this, I realize I'm not as driven on that feeling anymore, but I feel a little better about myself every single day. And I think that matters more than the productivity or the thing that's actually driving you. I'd encourage you to think about that every day. How can you feel better with yourself? And go to that moment and tell that little kid inside, and it's usually some experience that you had or multiple experiences that you had, just say you are doing the best that you could given the resources that you had at the time. And you're doing fine right now. Every single day, remind yourself that. And it's not something you fix overnight. It's not something that happens just that day. It's a lifelong burden that you have to face, of getting up and saying, you were doing fine. You're going to do okay today too. One little step at a time. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye. Oh, by the way, make sure you go clean out your Tupperware containers. My drawers are always a mess. All right. And by the way, if anybody wants to clean out mine, you're welcome to. All right, take care.